Hello, hello, and welcome to a special edition of Super Lady Hero Hour here on FANVERSATION. I am your co-host, Yael Tygiel. I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful and fantastic Kay-B. Hello, Kay-B.
Hello, Yael. So lovely to be here for this special episode with my fantabulous co-host. I'm so excited. It's New Year's Eve. You know, we are almost done with 2020, but not without talking about the, I guess, Super Lady Hero Hour film of the year, because quite frankly, it's the only one that we got to see.
Absolutely.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes, this movie, Wonder Woman, came out on December 25th on HBO Max. We're going to share all our thoughts. So at this point, consider this your spoiler warning. I do not have a graphic. I do not have a sound effect. Spoiler alert.
I'm pretty sure the whole world has seen it. And if you have not, then that's on you because the spoilers are already out.
That's true. I will say, speaking of the world, other places did not get it on HBO Max and were offered it in movie theaters. And I hope that you didn't go.
Just
for safety.
I saw some box office numbers, so some people definitely went. So
I don't know that this is the movie to risk your health and life for.
Well, let's get into it. So, you know, just off the top, what are your kind of high level thoughts? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it middle of the road? Because I have seen everything from top to bottom on Twitter.
So I enjoyed it. I had fun. This was a fun movie. I didn't love it. I have a lot of problems with it, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. At no point was I like, I can't enjoy this. I think back to the first movie and I go, that one, there were some big plot problems, but it was great and fun and it was good. This was fun and enjoyable, if that makes sense. Kay-B,
No,
what do you think?
Sense. It makes sense. Like for me, I definitely prefer the first film. I will say that. I prefer it in the grand scheme of things. I, like you, have issues with both because neither are perfect films. And quite frankly, it's very rare to see a perfect film in general. So like neither are perfect. You know, this one was set in the 80s, and I think it brings a lot of 80s things to it, but we didn't have to be in the 80s. Like it wasn't necessary for us to be in 1984. So there's that. I still have problems with the CGI for Cheetah. Like that definitely didn't get better for me. It was exactly how I thought it was going to be. And I told Patty Jenkins this. I 100% shared this with her and said that I will never forgive her for killing Steve Trevor a second time, essentially killing, I'm going to put that in quotes. But I adore Chris Pine. And I was like, girl, I'm not going to forgive you for doing this a second time because it also wasn't necessary. Like, I understand that they love Chris Pine. I do too. But bringing him back for this storyline is like, why? We didn't need it. So, I mean, for me, I definitely needed more action. I think the action with young Diana in the beginning was so good, and I loved it. But overall, I do think that, like, at the heart of it, it still has kind of those Wonder Woman themes and lessons that we all enjoy about the character in general. And so I really liked kind of having that, you know, kind of at the underlying belly of the film.
Let's talk about the Steve Trevor of it all. I was very much at the beginning of, I guess, their announcing that he would be back, was like, what? Why? I was not excited, and I had my theory, which was way wrong, but I didn't mind it. I liked the way they chose to bring him back. I liked the effects that it had. I liked her having to choose to get rid of him again. My issue is this poor man whose life they stole, who she sexually assaulted, who had no power of consent, And then she sees him again, and there's no,
He has no
oh crap,
recollection.
this is a person. Yeah, but she doesn't even respond with like, this is a human being that exists that I took advantage of. That's my issue. The Steve Trevor.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't see it that way, though. That's why she didn't say anything. You know, like, I mean, she doesn't see it as taking advantage of him at all.
Here's how I put it. Because when I saw him at the end, this is what I decided. That man was a gay man. And what she did is unspeakable. How dare she?
How did you determine that man was a gay man by the end?
Because how do we know? How do we know? We don't.
I mean, we don't know. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
What she did to this man, because I'm sure there are people on the internet going, well, I'm sure he wouldn't complain. I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would.
So like the idea of a body swap is a very 80s thing. And, you know, like, okay, I don't know. I felt like when we heard that Steve Trevor was coming back, we all know, or most of us in DC lore, that there is something known as the Lazarus Pit. I thought that was the direction that we were going to go in for this particular film. To me, that would have made more sense because it's already canon throughout DC Comics. And, you know, it doesn't include a non-consensual body swap. So I personally was like, oh, yay, this is what's going to happen. And then it didn't. But also, it was just, for a moment, it was very confusing what was going to happen. Like, you saw the man and he's saying the words that, you know, Steve said to Diana right before he, you know, perishes, essentially. And I was like, okay, is this man like I was so confused at first. And then they do the thing where they look in the mirror and she's like, okay, but she's literally still walking down the street with this man whose name I don't know. So, you know, there's that. She's just
doesn't have one.
Right. So she's still walking down the street with this man and taking him on these adventures and, you know, kind of introducing him to her peers, AKA Barbara. And I just was like, what? So, and in the end, she have to sacrifice him a second time, which I liked the storyline of Diana still being, you know, kind of going through the same things that we do, even as human beings, and having to make these really tough choices for your life. But was it a tough choice because you don't know him? Like, I mean, kind of, I was like, but also you don't know him. Like, what is his name? What, like, Steve already died. So, like, essentially, I don't know. It just didn't have the impact on me that I think that they were going for. I was just kind of mad that we even teased bringing, you know, Steve Trevor back and we didn't.
I totally see what you're saying. I wish they would have done that thing where they show the way other people see him. They see, like, in scenes where people meet him, we see what they see, which would be the other actor. It's kind of a bummer that they didn't do that, because that feels like how a proper body swap should be done. But I didn't mind it. I do think a lot of people were pointing out that she took this man on adventures and like risked the body that they've stolen. He could have died. He could have
died like multiple times. And also, I was curious about that because, so, you know, Diana has this superhuman strength, right? And Steve has, you know, his own capable skill sets of being a countryman and being a soldier and, you know, like being a pilot and all those things.
Right.
But what does this man have? You don't know. So, like, you put him in front of a tank. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like, you really don't know what he's capable of. And you're just like, here.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
Yep. Also, let's talk about them stealing a plane for a second, because that was the least thought out thing she did the entire movie. Like, she didn't think about a lot of things, but that was the least thought out. And it didn't make sense when she was like, oh, I know where we can get a plane. Why didn't you think to be like, you used your credentials to get it? Why didn't you, if you thought, oh, I know where there's a plane, then take one more second and think about how you're going to steal it without getting shot at.
And also without getting fired, because there's no way she still has a job, because she definitely swiped her badge and was like, yes, we're going to take this plane. And it was like, okay, girl, but you don't care about your future. I mean, I don't like, you're also trying to live in this world in plain sight, which means you need a job and you need these things. And you're like risking your own identity in a lot of ways
Right.
by doing these things. And so I was just like, girl, what? And then also, they made it seem like that plane ride was 5 minutes. Like, also, that was another point of contention. Like, you guys are traveling over continents. I'm almost 100% sure that that plane would not have made it. Like, that plane definitely would not have made it. Nobody stopped for gas. And it was like a 5-minute scenario. And then here you are, all of a sudden you are, in another country. And I was like, what?
It's so funny that you say that because I had the same thought. Like, first of all, that flight was minimum 10 hours. And second of all, there's a scene where after she realizes she can fly, and then we're like, where is she going? And she flies like 2 blocks. It was like 20 minutes of her in the air, 2 blocks. But when they were in the plane, which should take 10 hours, 5 minutes.
Yeah, they were like, and we're here, so welcome. And I was like, wait, what? And then also, where did you land that plane? I just had so many questions because it's a stolen plane, and you just, I don't know. I was just like, okay, girl, I guess. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the villains, because I will say admittedly that when it comes to DC villains, especially in this film, you can't really consider them villains. Like, they're honestly just human beings with like flaws. Like, I really didn't like Max Lord's flaw is that he's too ambitious and he's greedy and he wants, what he wants. I'm like, is this truly villainous?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like wasn't that much of a big bad. Like, he's fine. I think, as you were saying, she's trying to stay under the radar, and the idea that that to me says that her villain should have been a localized problem, not a global problem. Which is, I think, one of the things we've learned over the years, that like a end of the world problem for each superhero movie seems excessive. And like, we get rid of the stakes when it keeps happening, right? Suicide Squad, end of the world. Everything keeps being end of the world. So
it's like, how many times will the world almost end?
Right. I really thought, especially because of the way we started with her at the mall, that this was going to be a DC problem, and it wasn't. DC the place. And I also think that as soon as he started giving wishes out to everybody, we have that woman in that restaurant who's like, I wish I was famous. And then everyone starts slamming on the windows. And the solution that we found is you can you take back your wish. I think in that moment when she was scared, she would have taken back her wish. Or the guy who accidentally killed the woman by being like, I wish you dropped dead, he would have been like, oh my God, I don't mean it. I don't mean that.
But
and she would have come back. Right. It feels like a lot of those wishes would have immediately been turned back because people would have gotten the immediate consequences. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels not thought out.
Yeah, like, I will say Pedro Pascal is a gem. Like, I think he always does incredible with, honestly, whatever he's given, because he is just a fantabulous talent. So he did a great job, but it wasn't really that well thought out. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, his greed was like, okay, cool, I guess. But what does this have to do with her? Like, it was almost like we were watching 2 separate films. And I think that's also the problem when you have 2 villains. And I would put that in quotes because I still don't think that we had 2 villains, not realistically. But I think that's the problem when you go that large. Like, it should have been one or the other. It should have been, to be quite frank, it should have been, if you want Max Lord, then let it be Max Lord, and let Barbara stay Barbara and introduce her as Cheetah later on in the 3rd movie in a different storyline and series of events. Like, I don't think we needed both, because even when Barbara, met Max, it's like they have this torrid love affair at first, and then, he basically never speaks to her again. And then she rescues him, which is also like, girl, where did you come from? And how did you know that we were here? Also a question that I have. And, she just shows up and her outfit is banging now. And you're like, okay, girl, yes. And then 30 seconds later, she's a cheetah. Like, it just was like, I don't understand how we got here.
So we'll talk about Cheetah. I'm like still holding on to Cheetah. We'll get there. I want to continue with this Max Lord thing because I agree. I think that his villainy was weird. Sorry, I'm also thinking about his flight from DC to Egypt.
Like, also, how did you get there? And then how did you get back? Like, they were just making it seem like, because I don't recall what country they were in when they...
Egypt.
Okay.
They were
they made it seem like Egypt was down the street, legitimately. Like, I just was like, everyone's in Egypt somehow, and then they're back.
And then bounce back.
Also, I would be remiss if I didn't say, so I really, really adored Natasha. She plays on Insecure. She writes on Insecure. She does so much. She's hilarious. And she was in like 30 seconds of this film. And I was like, oh, because she was their boss and she had like very few speaking lines. And I was like, oh, I just felt like, I think maybe if we focused on the humanity of Barbara and focused on kind of that aspect of Barbara and Diana and kind of this humanistic stance, then maybe that would allow additional room to write a bit more for Max Lord's villainous, whatever we wanted to go down this path for him as the villain, then like we would have more of an opportunity to write for that. And it wouldn't have been so scattered. Like, I think we could have made Max Lord, to your point, we could have made him a DC problem versus, a global problem, because he didn't need to go to Egypt. Like, also, these things didn't actually have to happen. Right. So he didn't need to go there. We could have kept him local. We could have kept him stateside. We could have, if you wanted to expand a little bit, technically just do the DMV. That's 3 different states, and they're all conceptually 30 to 45 minutes away from one another. So like, maybe we just keep him in the DMV or take him to New York.
Even when he went to the president and was like, I want all the power, I was like, cool. Like, all right, the US, like he's taken over this country. That's interesting. But no.
And then it was like, no. And then it was and then we started jumping places, because to your point, when the man wished that the woman died, I'm pretty sure that said Italy. Like, it said something else, or like Scotland, or it was not in the States.
Oh no, they weren't in, I don't remember where they were, but yeah, yes. I agree. We jumped around. It didn't need to. I will say this. Pedro Pascal had a huge weekend, because not only was he in this, he was also, as you all know, Mandalorian, but more importantly, if you want to see what I would say is the best performance he's done this weekend, was We Can Be Heroes over on Netflix, which is the Shark Boy and Lava Girl sequel. You do not have to have seen those movies, I found out, and I watched it. It was great. So if you want to see the best performance he did this weekend, go check that out. Let's talk Cheetah, because I know you really want to. I think the first scene that they meet, I don't understand why Diana was so short with her, because Diana made it clear that she has no friends. And here is this perfectly lovely woman who is in a similar field, who understands your workplace dynamic, who is another woman in your career, and you are so like, I'm not interested. How could you do that to her? Also, then when the shift happens, it would have made it more compelling. Like, it would have mattered more, because she didn't just have a meal with her. They were friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was really interesting, because she called her best friend, and I was like, girl, y'all had one dinner.
Also, you called her on the phone with a favor, and she didn't ask questions and just did it. You're not at that level yet. You're not at a level where she's not going to go, why?
Explain. They're not friends. Right. Like, they're not friends. Like, I inherently should not just trust you immediately. But maybe Barbara does because she doesn't have friends and she doesn't understand, I guess, kind of, maybe she has like some sort of like social anxiety and she doesn't really, you know what I mean? She doesn't really understand kind of how the dynamics of a healthy friendship should work because she doesn't, because Diana mostly just takes advantage of her this entire film. I mean, like, that is the reality. So I was like, So when Barbara's like, oh, this is my best friend, I was like, how is she your best friend? Like, do you know her last name? I mean, honestly, do you even have her phone number? I was like, no, because she called you. So I'm willing to bet that you don't have her phone number. Like, what?
Right.
So
also,
I don't know if friends.
The idea that, you know, when Barbara's like, I want to be like Diana, I want to be, you know, sexy and confident, blah, blah, blah. The only difference is she changes her outfits and then that drives the way she holds herself, which tells me she could have gone shopping and would have been fine. That's what happens.
But that is essentially what happens. Remember when she goes shopping for the dress for the gala and the girl's like, oh my God, you look so good in this dress. And then suddenly everyone's like, oh my God, you look great. She's like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I guess Barbara, I think, had the capacity to be a really, truly compelling character. If it were just fleshed out like a little bit more. Like, I just, you know, really wanted to see something a little bit different. I think there's always a little hint of these origin stories where, you know, there's kind of a nerdy character that sees, you know, who they want to be in kind of the superhero character. But the reality is that Diana and Barbara are mirror images of each other. Diana has no friends. She lost the love of her life. She isolates everyone. She basically just goes to work and goes home. She doesn't even go out to dinner very frequently. I mean, we saw her go out, you know, by herself. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't understand, to your point, why they couldn't have been friends and we developed some other type of story, because I mean, the fact of the matter is, Diana, you're lonely. So like, let's own up to that.
Right.
And that's why you're wishing for Steve to come back, which also someone brought up a good point. Oh, sorry. Well, someone brought up a good point about Steve. They were like, you brought Steve back, but like, you also barely knew him. And I was like, oh, well, when you think about it.
Yep. I also think that he should have been like, this seems like a lot that it's been this many years and you like have pictures of me and my watch and everything still out like a shrine. Like, that seems like a lot.
I mean, here's the thing. So on one hand, how many years have passed? I don't know how many years have passed between these two films, essentially. Between when he dies in 1984. At the end of the day, it's decades. Like, that's what we do know. Loss is hard and people grieve differently. So I won't say that, you know, like, for her keeping those tokens of him, I mean, to be quite fair, you know, like some of our grandparents would do that. You know, if they lost the love of their lives, they would keep kind of mementos of that. So I'm not going to say that. But, and he was the love of her life because he was her only love, not necessarily, you know, we also know she's not putting herself out there, which Steve also brings up. Like, girl, you got to date. Like, you got to meet some new people. You got to fall in love again, because this is not the move. But she's so fixated on the love that they have, which, like, kudos that you got a great love in your lifetime. But also, we don't have to only love once. Like, we have opportunities to be able to do it again. But I still just feel like there were pockets of things that were impactful in the film, but none of them connected in an impactful way, if that makes sense. Like, there were like hints of things that were like, oh, that's really good. Oh, I really enjoyed this. Oh, but I wish they were connected a bit more seamlessly. And it doesn't mean I didn't have a good time, because I still had a good time. My biggest point of contention, though, I wanted there to be more action. There was basically like no action. It was like action light.
Yes. Let's discuss the fight with Cheetah when she is cheetah-fied. As we know, I've been very excited. The idea of a cat person made me so happy. This was so disappointing because from neck down, she was a cat person. From neck up, what she looks ridiculous. Either go full cat or don't.
You said she looks ridiculous. Listen, I have said multiple times that I was just not a fan of the CGI from what I saw in the trailer. I wasn't expecting it to be much different in the final cut, to be honest. So I knew that I wasn't like the CGI was going to bother me. But again, I wasn't sure how Kristen Wiig's performance would stand out. And like, honestly, I think Kristen Wiig did a great job. I just think she deserved better with the CGI. But I also understand that like CGI is complicated. Like it is very, very hard to do. And I don't know the initial vision that they were going for. So I agree with you in the sense that like either we go like full on, like all the way, or we don't do it at all. Because, a lot of it, like, I know that she said she wanted to be a predator, but a lot of it was like, did she have to turn into a cheetah for this fight? Like, I actually was kind of asking myself that question as they were going, kind of back and forth. And then I also kind of felt like the fight actually was wildly unnecessary in general. Like when I thought about the placement and the structure of the film, I was like, oh, well, this doesn't seem like it was needed, because it wasn't. Like ultimately, I feel like Diana's fight really should have been with Max Lord, because to me, like the big fight, we saw that she had like a smaller fight when they were in the White House. And that's when like Cheetah comes to save him. But I feel like the big fight should have been with Max, because the whole time Max is the one with all the power. I mean, that's the reality. He started this, he knows how it works. He had all the power. I just thought it should have been different. And I love the suit that Diana was wearing. I absolutely adore it. I love it. It was perfect. But I feel like the suit was kind of wasted. And I hope that we see it again in the third film, because it's such a good suit. And it's so incredible that I feel like it's something that we need to see more of. But that cheetah fight it just was unnecessary. Like I didn't understand why we had it.
So I agree. I think the cheetah fight, I think the only reason it happened was because Max Lord was just a dude and she would kill him. Like fighting him would be one punch and he's done. He's just a guy. So I think that is why we had to do it. That said, the White House fight with Barbara in the cheetah skirt, that was the best. It was a great fight. That was the best action of the entire thing. It looked good. It made sense. Both women looked incredible. I like the idea that this is, I think this is when Barbara realizes that she's Wonder Woman. Like it was so cool. Especially because the fight, the like truck fight in Egypt looked awful. Like, I don't know why. It just visually did not look great.
So yeah. I didn't hate that one. I'm trying to remember, like, there's like some cool things that she does when she's like jumping off the truck, like certain parts of it I liked. I just, I mean, I'm going to agree. The White House fight with Barbara is the best one for sure. But I think a part of me will always feel like she needed to fight Max, because I don't actually think that Barbara needed to be turned into Cheetah fully. Like, I feel like she was already doing a great job during that White House fight, that like, did we actually need her to go full Cheetah? Like, it didn't really seem like we did. And honestly, I wish they would have saved that for the third film. Like, let's just have her kind of mirror Diana in this same form. And then let's gradually see things happen, kind of in the third film. Let's not underutilize her as a villain. And I think that's just what it comes down to for me. Again, I totally still had fun. But
I think it would have been, I think you're right. I think that'd be so cool if like we introduce this character and they become friends, kind of like a Spider-Man 3 where James Franco's character becomes Green Goblin Jr. So I think that would have been cool if like they stayed friends-ish, had this human version fight, and then moved on. Next time she becomes the big bad villain. I also think that the White House fight could have been the big end fight if Max Lord was like, I'm taking over the US. Like it fits.
Yeah. I think we just needed to scale down. So, and that's a weird thing to say, I know, in like such big budget superhero films, but I often find that less is more. And that's why always in the CW verse shows, I'm like, cut these seasons. Because if you just focus, if you get rid of 23 episodes and you just have 15, oh my gosh, there's no filler. And I feel like that in film, like if we just cut the filler and get straight to the point, I think it makes a more compelling story overall. And, it's funny because I did see someone on Twitter say, okay, well, now that the third film has been fast tracked, I guess we are introducing the Lazarus Pit so Steve Trevor can come back a third time. And I'm like, guys, I definitely don't think they're going to bring him back for a third one because people are so upset about how this happened in the second one. So I don't think he'll come back, but they should have done the Lazarus Pit to begin with. And so that's what I'll say.
So interesting. I had, somebody pointed out, I am not familiar with the comics, but somebody pointed out that there is something about Steve Trevor that he continues to return in different versions. Yes. So I think we can expect him to come back a third time.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be via the Lazarus Pit, but if we introduce the multiverse, like depending on when this film drops, if we introduce the multiverse, we could see another iteration of Steve Trevor. There's like one comic, I was reading about this the other day. There's like one comic where it's like his grandson comes back, but it's like the same name. And I was like, ooh, Chop, please don't date though, because then it becomes that weird thing. What other comic did that? And I was like, oh no, like, it becomes kind of awkward.
I believe you're thinking of Captain America and how he dates Peggy. Yes. He wants to do Peggy's niece or something.
But there's like one where like his grandson comes back. And then of course, multiverse, we have an infinite amount of individuals that can come back. So we'll see. Yeah. But I also think I am curious to know kind of going forward in this kind of Wonder Woman anthology that they're building, what it's going to play into with the other films. So we talk about this a lot, but the DCEU doesn't have great continuity, like at all. Mm-hmm. So it's like, is this just going to be a random third film? Because we saw that they just announced that HBO Max is going to have like several different Batman, and I was like, oh gosh, what are we doing? Like, we're already doing this wrong. Can we please just like formulate a plan, where things tie in together effortlessly? So who knows? Honestly, at this point, if Patty just wrote down on the sheet of paper, Steve Trevor is back because I said so, that would be better to me than this body swap. Like if she just said, oh, well.
Look, I disagree. I like the body swap. I just think that they should have considered the body they took. That's all. That's all I ask.
Well, listen, I hope that he comes back for another one. That would make me so happy. But I just think, we got to figure out how to do it. And the Lazarus Pit was right there. It was right there. And the multiverse is right here. So it's like, you got two really great options for, the third film, which I feel like will probably round out this trilogy. I don't know that they'll do like more than 3, but you have 2 great options. And I have some ideas. So, if you want to chat. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, I still feel like, to me personally, I think Gal and Patty are just a really good duo in the way they work together. Like, I do think that I still 100% believe that they have like a really good cinematic partnership, which they were able to bring to life in such a fabulous way in the first Wonder Woman. In my opinion, I know a lot of people don't like the first one, but I actually really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it, I think, a lot more because it had way more action, even though the third act was, clunky. Right. But the third act in this one was clunky too. So, I mean, what?
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I want to really quickly touch upon the cute little cameos, I guess. We have the woman from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, whose name I can't remember, who was in the first one. No, the British lady, the very funny one. Great. Anyway, she's in a picture in Diana's place because we assume she's dead at this point. And then at
Oh,
the
yes.
end,
Oh my God. Yes. Because she was Steve Trevor's assistant in the first one.
right?
Coming
Yes.
back. Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't giving context clues.
I was like, what is she talking about? Yes. Yes. And we know that she is also dead by now. So she is, immortalized in Diana's apartment. Yes.
But I think that genuinely is like the best way, because she was such a like beloved fan favorite character that I think that's such a fun way to have been like, look, they stayed friends.
Yes, and she was like very funny and endearing and just very kind. And she was actually one of the best parts of the first one. She's one of the best parts of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina too. So, I mean, ironically, she's the winner. But yes, and then of course the Linda Carter cameo.
Yes, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was perfect and so cute.
It's funny because after I saw it, because I saw it an advanced screening, so we didn't have that credit scene, or at least I didn't have it. So I don't know, or I didn't see it. But before then, when they're talking about the history of the golden suit, someone had messaged me and they were like, do you think that was Linda Carter in there? So actually, I know I wasn't the only one that didn't have the credit because they texted me about it. And I was like, oh, that would be really dope, but I don't know. So, come to find out, yes, it was her. And she was the ancestor. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome. Because like the person who messaged me totally got it right. And I didn't even think about it. And so, until seeing this mid-credit scene.
I absolutely loved it. And I really hope it means, they're going to do a third. So I really hope it means that she's going to be part of it, because that'd be phenomenal. And she deserves it. And like, it would be so good. But I don't know that it is the case.
Listen, the third one is probably like not even conceptualized yet, to be quite honest. Like, sure they probably have like an outline, like Patty probably has an outline, but apart from that, she's probably like trying to just enjoy the fact that the second one is out in the world now. And then she also has some other projects that she's working on. So I think she's probably like, I'm busy, but here's my outline for the third one. And we'll see what happens. Listen, again, overall, I always have fun with Wonder Woman because I do think that there are some very relevant storylines that we need, especially during this time. And 2020 has been an exceptionally hard year. And I do think that there were some good themes that came out of the film where I was like, I want to spend more time with my loved ones, and, don't be greedy. There are some things.
And wear animal prints. Wear animal prints.
Honestly, her wardrobe for me was like almost better than Diana's. I was like, not 100% because I adore Diana's like gala dress. I was like, yes, girl, this dress is everything. Like the split was everything. And I was like, yes. But like some of Barbara's clothing, when she like leveled up, I was like, oh, okay, Barbara, like the boots. I was like, oh, okay.
The outfit she wears in that, in the White House fight, I literally turned to my roommate and I said, that's what I'm going to be for Halloween. It's
just that beautiful version of Barbara, of Cheetah.
Yep.
She's like a hybrid at that point, I guess. But
she's not full Cheetah yet. She just realized that she loves animal prints.
So I do want to bring up one thing because so many of my friends thought that they should have done a queer storyline with Barbara and Diana because they thought that they went on the date. And so I'm just curious. I actually didn't I definitely thought that Barbara, definitely looked up to her and probably had a crush on her too. But I didn't think they were on a date. Like I go out with my girlfriends all the time to have dinner. So I was kind of like, oh, I guess. I'm not opposed to it. Like, let it happen if it's going to happen. But I also didn't view it in that light. But I thought I kind of felt like I was the only one because everyone else was like, they're definitely queer. And I was like, oh, I don't know that I got that vibe. But if they are, they are like, yay.
Interesting.
But I didn't get that vibe at all. I just thought that like they were two people who didn't know each other. Barbara's new to the city and new to the job, so I was like, they're just having dinner. That's what I thought. But
I think that's so interesting. I think that was not how it was written. And I now would like to see that version of the movie because I think it would make it more interesting. Because it also, right, like our biggest complaint was that these two, like they weren't friends yet. And so if it was that they were on a date, then it changes things. And like they were in some sort of relationship and not a coworker acquaintance.
Like for me, they just were two people who had just met and they were just having dinner. Like that's, I don't know, that's what I perceived and watched. Like, okay, like they didn't really know each other. They're just trying to like figure out, you know, like, oh, are we actually going to be friends? Because that's also a fine line, especially in corporate America jobs. Like, do I actually want to be friends with these people that I work with? Oftentimes, no. But like, you know, sometimes it's a yes. So I just thought they were trying to figure that out. Like, oh, and I'm like, but I don't know. Maybe Barbara did have a crush on her. Maybe Diana did have a crush on her. I don't know because I didn't like read the situation that way. I don't know. So it's interesting. But I saw
I'm disappointed.
I saw a lot of people talking about it. And I was like, oh, really? Maybe I'm the only one. Let me ask Yael. So.
Yeah. I mean, I would love if anybody in the chat would like to chime in with their thoughts. My mouse has died, so give me 1 second.
I love the shuffle that you just shuffled off screen, and it was like
the good news is there's a whole other mouse. Oh well. Hopefully this one doesn't die, because otherwise the stream's just going to keep going.
Yay! The never-ending stream. That will just be an ode to 2020. Like, the stream that keeps on going. Why not? Yeah, okay. So I wasn't the only one. So cool.
No, I mean, I know I saw people talking about the fact that Diana is canonically bi, which makes total sense. So, but, you know, is Barbara? I don't know.
We don't know. Right. Like, we didn't have any conversations around that. Put in the script or put on the screen. So, yeah, I am hoping that, you know, I honestly hope that we see Kristen Wiig again. I do, because I just need it to be different. I just need it to be different though. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing her in some capacity again. And I am curious as to who they're gonna choose for the next villain for the third film.
Yeah, I'd like it to not be another dude. I think that'd be a nice change of pace. But I don't know. Yeah, there's so much they could do with the third. I'm like stuck on your idea now. And I'm like, I want Kristen Wiig to be like, to show us Cheetah in a different way, you know?
Yes, that's what I want.
Realize, if like she realizes that was the like, oh, that was the true me. I have to be that person and that being, and like tries to find another way to become a cat person. You know, I'm gonna love that.
You're gonna be obsessed with it. But you know, actually, so if we're going to bring Linda Carter back, because actually a good point is that, you know, in the film, Diana kind of references her like she died, basically, you know, like she sacrificed herself. So it's interesting that she's alive. So we love that. But I think however she's alive could be the key to how they bring back Steve. I will say that, like, however we get that, they're probably going to do that. And then also I'm hoping in the third one, of course, that we introduce Nubia. And so, you know, that would be something else that would be, you know, fantastic for us to see. I definitely 100% adore young Diana. Like, what a little cutie. What a fierce little girl. And that first like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, however long it was, I don't care. I wanted more of, because I thought it was adorable, and what a fierce little warrior. And more flashbacks with little Diana in the third one. That's what I want.
I didn't need this whole opening thing. I'm sorry. Like I love seeing the mascara, but like I didn't need it. It didn't add, and it was long. And so was the movie.
It's funny, everyone kept saying that that scene was long. And honestly, I didn't feel like it was that long. I didn't feel like we were in the mascara for longer than 15 minutes. Like, I didn't feel like that at all. But maybe it's just me. I was like, that passed by the fastest for me, I feel like.
Mm.
But I don't know. Everyone else was like,
you like the girl.
I know it is. It's probably because like I adore young Diana, and I was like, yay! Look at my little queen being all fierce. Also, Yael, you know, I love when little kids shine, and so I just am like, yay! Let the kids do everything. They're so good, and so yeah. So that's probably why
I tolerated the children being there. Any final thoughts?
No. I think we have said everything that needs to be said. I have my request for the third film in case anyone at DC or Warner Brothers wants to watch this and, ask me some more questions because I have some thoughts. But yeah, overall, I had a good time. And I have yet to watch it again. I haven't watched it since I saw it. I just watched the mid-credit scene, but I am looking forward to watching it again and like truly like sitting down with it and seeing how I feel. But overall, I had a good time. And I guess I'm in the minority because not a lot of people said they had a good time, but I was like, I didn't hate it. I definitely, still obviously this is a critique. So I had some pain points about it, but like, Diana's still my girl, I'm still looking forward to another, Wonder Woman film. And I can't wait to see what she does next in this next one. And I hope, it's flushed out a little bit more. What about you, Yael? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was fun. I enjoyed it. Did it have problems? Absolutely. Did they distract? A lot, but I still was able to enjoy and have a good time. And that's what you want from a movie, a superhero movie. That's what you want. I also haven't seen it a second time.
Were the costumes fantastic? Yes. I mean, yes. I adored the costuming, and I can't remember the music, so I'm not going to speak on that because I really don't remember it. But I definitely remember being like, yes to these clothes, so I was like,
yeah, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good stuff about this movie.
And Pedro and his son. Also, oh my gosh, yes, Pedro's son in the film. What a little cutie. Also, I just wanted to. I didn't understand. It was very random for him to have a child in the storyline, I felt like. But that actor is adorable. I don't know what else to say, but yeah.
It was unnecessary. The whole child thing was unnecessary. I spent too much time wondering who the kid's mom was. And like the fact that they brought up that the mom had a new boyfriend. Like, are we going to meet these people? Why are we bringing this up?
Well, honestly, so that actually brought up for me what got cut. Because there were a lot of things that like weren't answered or solved or continuous, and I kept thinking, I think a scene probably got cut here. Like I kept saying that to myself in a few places, and so when they mentioned the mom, because they mentioned her more than once, I feel like I was like, there must have been a scene with this character that didn't make it, final cut, because I was like, we've talked about her a little bit more frequently than I feel like we normally would, so I feel like some things got cut.
Yeah. I agree. That's a really great point. All right. On that note, we at Super Lady Hero Hour will be back in January to discuss the new and returning CW DC verse shows, as well as any other superhero shows that may arise. But until then, Kay-B, where can people keep up with you on the internet, and what do you want to promote today?
Well, I can be found at the Lady Kay-B, TheLadyKayB on Instagram, Twitter. That's it. I'm not on any more social media platforms. But you can find me at those. And, I will either be tweeting about 90s R&B or will be tweeting about some delicious meal I ate, or I will be tweeting about superhero things and TV and film and, Casper the Friendly Ghost, the movie that's iconic and I adore and I might watch tonight. So honestly, it's going to be a plethora of things. There is, nothing to promote outside of the usual. Follow me on YouTube through the lens of Lady Kay-B. Listen to my podcast. I'm season 2 host of the Color Grade podcast. We talk about film and TV shows, deep dives, deep reviews. It's exciting. And, I write occasionally and I host occasionally. So yeah, all the things. So Yael, where can everyone find you? How are you celebrating New Year's Eve? And most importantly, what are you playing next?
I'm going to start with what I'm playing next because I just started for the very first time ever in my life, World of Warcraft. And I am terrible at it. So you can watch me do that, as well as keep up with me everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. That's twitch.tv/Yael Tygiel it's bad. It's bad. You can watch it. There's plenty of clips. Also, coming up this New Year's Day is the Doctor Who special. So we'll be discussing it here on FANVERSATION on the Who Schmooze. We'll be doing that on Saturday. So there's a video here on FANVERSATION's YouTube channel that you can check out. Also on Sunday, I'll be talking about an older episode of Law & Order SVU on Law & Order S Review. That is where we're talking about season 7 is the one.
These names are divine.
To be fair, I came up with 0 of them, so I cannot take credit. They're all so clever. Yeah, that's our show. I'm going to figure out how to end it.
Hashtag show.
Yes. Ooh, there's so much more. There's also the streaming wars on that hashtag show. Kay-B was a guest and we discussed all of the new stuff that is coming out in 2021 that we are looking forward to, that is streaming everywhere. So you can check that out over on that hashtag show. Good call. And now I have to figure out how to end this broadcast because none of my mice are working. Nope, escape doesn't work. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Kay-B